Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. Today, I think we're going to take a quick look at just setting up a job, or setting up Eagle, I should say, and then setting up our first job. And this isn't really going to cover like the rest of them, all the nuances, all the details. We're still in this kind of overview phase of what we're talking about. So anyway, when you first open up Eagle, you're greeted with what they call the control panel. I think we covered that before. And you see a couple of things listed in here: libraries, design blocks, design rules, all that kind of stuff. You can read yourself. This is one of the three windows that Eagle will have opened up at any one time. So we have the control panel, and I have a board opened up here, a schematic. So it'd have the control panel and a schematic and a board. Unfortunately, just in case anybody's asking to themselves, you can only have one schematic open at a time, and that schematic is associated with the board. So when you open up a schematic, it automatically opens up the board, and that's it. So those are the three major windows that you would have opened up as well. But you can also open up a library and some like script editing windows and all that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, that's the three that you would have opened up. Now, here's what's important is that Eagle has its own folders that default folders that it puts the default libraries and all that kind of stuff into, design rules and all those kinds of things. As you move forward, saving these things in the root directory of wherever Eagle is installed is not necessarily a great thing. So for me personally, I have all of my stuff stored on a NAS, and the NAS is backed up and it's accessible from all my different computers and all that kind of thing. So I mapped all those things in here. So I have, I still have all the default stuff on most of these things, but I also have my own personal projects, of course, that are kind of in here. So this is a great way that you can put files and support information for Eagle wherever you want on your computer or your network, and then you can map all of those things to the tree that you see here. So if I click on libraries, you can see here I've got my managed libraries, part downloads, the LBR-cloud. That was where initially I moved all my local libraries to the cloud and all that kind of stuff. So I've mapped all these things to this. Design blocks, great tool. I've got my own stuff there. And scripts, I think, let me see. Oh yes, I do have some scripts in there. What else do I have? Cam jobs. Oh yeah, well, here's a good one. So you know what? I've never really mapped my cam jobs to this folder, so I have to go hunt for them every single time. I'm not sure why I've let that go, but this is a good example of one that could use a little bit of help. So let's go and look at what it takes to change all this stuff. It's pretty simple. We'll go to Options and pick Directories. As usual, it pulls up the menu. Or the associated dialog box in outer space. So we have all of those same things here listed, and the what am I trying to say? The paths that go along with it, and you can have multiple paths for each one. So let's see, if we look here at design rules, this one's fairly easy. I'll go all the way back to the beginning. So the $home is the root directory for the Eagle installation. Then we have a semicolon, and then I have a completely separate path. And that's where I keep my own design rules. So I can totally take out the Eagle standard design rules just by deleting this little section right here if I really wanted to, and just have this one. I use these as reference sometimes, so I'll leave them there. But if we come down here to the one that we were looking at, cam jobs, this one is just the standard whatever cam Eagle has in there. So if I want to add something to that, I'll just put the cursor at the end and click on the browse button. And go pick up the folder over there in outer space on monitor 1. So here's the kind of the root directory of all of the Eagle stuff. I don't really care about that. I'm going to put mine. Go grab mine from here. Let's see, mine is let's see, cam and Eagle, and I think I have mine in design utilities. Do I? Yeah, I think it's this one. Maybe. Anyway, this one will work. So I'll just say select folder, This definitely has cam data in there. I'm not sure if it's the right one. I didn't even look. But you can see what it did is it automatically added the semicolon right here, and then this path to all of the folders. So when I say OK, and I go back over here to cam, now I have this one that I added in here, the Sunstone Eagle, whatever. I got this from Sunstone Circuits, which is a nice board house here in the USA. Here they all are. Oh yeah, you know what? This is definitely not the right one. But you can see what goes in here. There's a whole bunch of cam files that are now in there as the default, which is great. But one of the most important ones is, of course, projects. And there is a button. In fact, I think we'll go and take a look at that. At the bottom of the directories folder, there's a little checkbox, include Eagle examples. And for a long time, I had that turned off. I'm like, you know what? I don't need any of that kind of junk. It's probably just crap, and I don't need it. But I clicked that relatively recently, and it populates all the things, and here's all these little examples. I'm like, you know what? A lot of these are actually kind of interesting to see how certain things are set up, and look how other people lay things out, and just kind of, I kind of browse through these things to get references and ideas for how to do something. It's kind of interesting, like reading a book. But you also see that in scripts. There's scripting examples. And when I was trying to incorporate more scripting and automate Eagle a little bit more, these are great places to look for just kind of ideas on how things are done. But anyway, so in projects, this is actually my folder here, the projects folder, and that is mapped to my network attached storage. And for most of these things, I kind of have a relatively standardized folder structure, which is important. Every single design is going to have PCB data. So I have a PCB data folder there. Mechanical reference, that's because this PCB will ultimately go into some sort of enclosure, and that's going to be important. So I have various things in that folder that are just helpful for me to know where screw holes should go, or buttons, or LEDs, or something like that. Gerbers, these are the files that we use to make the final boards, and I keep all of those things in there. And in the Gerber files, generally speaking, I will save the board and schematic file in there. Then I will make all of the Gerber files, and that way, in a single spot here, you can have all of your Gerbers and the associated board and schematic files. And I'll zip all that stuff together and have it kind of locked down in time. That way, when I go back to deal with an older revision board, I can always go back and find the exact moment when I process that board. I sent it to a board fab house, and I can go back and reference that one. I think this Scatterbox 2 one, this is an old project. Let's see. Probably have some in here. Let's see. Yeah, Gerber. So this one is set up fairly well. It has all these dates that I made the Gerber file. So if I find one, an older file, I can go in here and figure out, oh yeah, revision M-V6. Perfect. This is exactly what the board and the schematic look like at that particular moment in time. And those are all zipped and archived, so I can refer to them later. So you don't have to organize your files and folders the way I do, but think about how to organize all this stuff. Once you get a bunch of boards or a bunch of projects going, like, for the most part, these are all my active projects. All the inactive ones I've archived and already pulled out of here, but it's quite a bit to get confusing down the road. So anyway, so that is important there. So if you notice here under the description, there's really only one that has a description, and the descriptions it's pretty powerful. It works pretty well, except that Eagle gives you the worst imaginable way to insert these descriptions. And let me show you what I mean. So if I right click on this thing and I say edit description, let's go grab the resulting dialog box. I think we've seen some of this stuff before when we were making the, this is the same dialog box you get when you're trying to add descriptions to parts and footprints and all that kind of stuff. You have to code all this junk in HTML. There's no little bar at the top where you can do bold and you know, paragraph spacing and fonts and links and all that kind of stuff. You literally have to write out the HTML tags on all of this stuff to get something like this. So this one is a quickie sample that I did. Just I don't really use these much because of the stupid HTML thing. It's just too clumsy. I have a different way of keeping track of my projects. But you know, if you want this to be bold, you have to do the bold tag. This one, you know, I wanted, you know, this is one of my last projects, right? And then at the end, you have to do the line break tag, the BR. And for a link, you have to do the whole href and put your link in here, and then here's the text that's associated with it and all that kind of stuff. So, you know what? It's a great idea, and having descriptions and taking the time to do that is a great idea. However, Eagle could not make this more clumsy. It's just kind of silly. Technically, it works. For those of you who do a bunch of HTML stuff, maybe you don't care. For me, it's just a bunch of useless typing, so I don't make a whole lot of use out of it. But here it is, and that's how it works, and that's what it's for. I do like putting links and stuff, but admittedly, I don't really take the time very often. So anyway, so that's how the control panel is kind of laid out, and what directories do. And this is a great place to customize Eagle and get it to show you the information, present you the information that you need all the time, but without the restriction of having to save things in specific places on your computer. You can pick a place that's best for you, either locally on your computer or on a network or whatever the case may be. So let's start a new project and see what that is all about. So I was kind of thinking the starting up a new project and getting it all defined and kind of ready to go is should be a separate little piece. So let's wrap this one up here, and we'll see you in the PCB startup video.